Hi guys, I'm just going to give you a quick rundown on my customization of the Crosman 2240. I'm going to just walk through to the components which I modified. I'll start with the boss valve. What I've done is increase the hole diameter of the outflow, and I made this transfer port which has got a thread on it. It's an M6 thread, and the hole diameter inside is about 4.3. It's a much larger hole than the original one. Tiny little thing, isn't it? Comparing to 3.3, and it's just sat on top, all loose, like so. So what I thought of doing is putting a M6 thread inside, tapping that part of the transfer port so it will screw in like so, so it was nice and secure. So when it's inside the actual tube, it will act as a pin, a safety feature you might say, as well as the screw from the bottom there as well. Okay, so I will take this apart. Okay, I bored out the inner hole larger using using boring out tool. I was lucky to use a lathe, which is more convenient, so it just bores out, goes in, bores out to the hole larger. Leave a few threads behind obviously to lock this in place. I also cut this down to size. I cut off about 2-3 threads off, so made it smaller but larger capacity volume inside the chamber of the boss valve. I left this alone, but I made a new one of these, but without the needle that pierces the CO2 cartridge. It also kind of disturbed the high pack. So what I've done, I made this custom made valve stem with no needle. That fits in there nicely. I used the original spring from the boss valve. I tried lighter springs, but it just let out more air, less power. So I decided to keep this one because it was just balanced just correctly. So that's the boss valve. It is important when you're modifying these guns, if you don't want to use CO2 anymore and use high pack or any other bottles, high pressure bottles, I found it that this pin disturbed the airflow going in and gave me less power. So I was like shooting between 650, 660 feet per second. By modifying this needle valve or stem valve, it gave me much more power, gave it about oomph. Now it's shooting about 895 feet per second on a 1500 psi charged with the high pack. You don't want these anymore. That's if you're thinking just using the high pack without the CO2s anymore. So that's my modification. Okay. I also made a new hammer with the larger hole diameter. This is the original. The hole's slightly smaller to accommodate a larger spring. This is the original. This is the larger one. See the difference? Quite thick. Compression is very strong comparing to the original ones, very sort of flimsy. So that fits nicely behind in the hammer. Obviously everything works like that. Okay. Coming on to the breech. It originally came in with the brass bolt. I didn't quite like that because it kept scraping, pieces of swarf coming off, and then slightly jamming. So I've discarded this, so I've decided to make my own. This is silver steel, tempered, same hardness as the stem valve. That's the same material, silver steel, hardened. So it's less prone of scratching, and it will last longer when the hammer hits the back, or the pin from the hammer will hit the back. I also slightly increased the length, so it will give it more movement. So I won't go through all the details of how to assemble it, because I think everyone knows how to do that. Just customize the handle just to make it look good. Okay, in my previous videos I showed you about the screw-on barrel. I'm using the same method with the screw-on barrel from the 18-inch, or change it down to, but instead of rather using those screws where the telescopic sight sits on, where the scope sat, it was just obscuring the screws. It was a bit of a pain undoing it all the time. So what I decided to do is to put the screws on the side. Like so. It's easier to access if I need to change the barrel from the 18-inch to the 7.5-inch. Obviously using the M8 thread. And inside the breech is this little component. Okay. That little grub screw is held in place, so this piece won't fly out, and nice and secure. Oops, sorry. So this is inside the breech, and that's it. There's your transfer port hole, and everything fits nicely. As long as you've got the diameters inside correct. 5.6 hole for the pellet. This hole is made to accommodate the valve. Obviously this one's made for that, so it fits like so. So yeah, that's pretty cool. So the stem valve, for me it was important to cut this from a previous video I saw on YouTube from some other guy saying he doesn't need a stem valve anymore because he's using Ninja tanks. So that gave me an idea. Okay, I don't want to damage this original one, because I could always assemble it back to CO2 if I want to later in stage. So I tried this. The weird thing about it, by taking the pin off by taking the pin off, it gave me more power. I can't understand why. I know there's more air flowing and the actual pin won't cause the blockage as the air coming through. Same with the high pack, as it's goes, as the hammer hits it, it might block the hole slightly, so there'll be less air coming out. I don't know. I don't know the science behind that, but I do know that having this pin removed works fantastic. So anyone who has struggled trying to get a high feet per second ratio, if you're very lucky to have a little machine workshop, try and make one. You know, just copy the dimensions as they are. So without the pin, it does work for me. So yeah, I used various springs, different sizes, different thicknesses, different lengths. They all work okay, but I found this one to be the best. Apart from the original one. So my custom made, looks a bit naff, custom made power adjuster. The spring goes in, so this is my custom made hammer. So it's a pretty hefty spring, but it does work. It does cock smoothly without any struggle when you're pushing, thinking, oh, it's a big spring, it's gonna jam up my gun. No, once you've got it set correctly, then you won't have to hardly touch the power adjuster. Yeah, I pumped the high pack at the moment to about 2000 psi, or maybe a bit 150 bar. Bit worried about pumping it to about 3000. I know people on YouTube say they claim to have pumped it to about 3000, but I think it's okay if you just pump it to about under 2000 psi. There's enough air in these storage tanks. I got 2 extension tubes, so it gives me more shots. So it's accommodate with the 18-inch barrel. It's about like so. So not too bad. Yeah, I pumped the high pack at the moment to about 2000 psi, or maybe a bit 150 bar. Bit worried about pumping it to about 3000. I know people on YouTube say they claim to have pumped it to about 3000, but I think it's okay if you just pump it to about under 2000 psi. There's enough air in these storage tanks. I got 2 extension tubes, so it gives me more shots. So it's accommodate with the 18-inch barrel. It's about like so. So not too bad.